Mounce, BBG, chapter 22, sentence 5. First thing to notice is you get that post-positive day, you're going to yank out and throw to the front and translate it as either but or and. If you know enough of the context, you're probably going to go with but, because he is contrasting, with something somebody has said to him. Then you got your subject, which is obvious. Then you're going to look for a third singular verb because this is a singular subject in Jesus. And you have that with Eckman, and that should tell you that you're dealing with a third singular. But let's take a look at this verb before we go further, and recognize that this is another one of those freaky verbs because you're going to have you memorized it, but now hopefully what you see is that it's actually from Lego, and Lego goes to arrow in the future, which goes to Eckman in the aorist, and this is one of those. I'm sorry, I'm going to try to not do that anymore. Eckman, you'd expect an omicron if it were first singular or third plural, but you hopefully recognize that epsilon nu now as only can be a third singular, which would make subject verb agreement with Jesus. So and or but, Jesus said, and then of course to him in the dative, so that's easy enough. And then here's your quotation mark to tell you that this is his quote. And hopefully you recognize most of this as work you have already done. So we'll go back over it very briefly, but bottom line is the trick here is to recognize that this is something new to you in terms of really seeing it for what it is. But Jesus said to him, why, and again, if all you're doing is word by word, why me, you call or you say good. So knowing that it is a question, you're going to say, why do you, in this case, since this is me is the direct object, you don't say, why do you say me? You would say, why do you call, right? So that's just a collocation thing for Lego to go with me. But, all you got to do is treat this as though it were kaleo. So why do you call me good? All right. So why do you call me good? Question mark. And udes, no one, and hopefully you see that ace there, and you recognize it's not one from haste me a hen, right? So this is not one is good, or no one is good. And if I were to ask you where the verb is, you would tell me that it is ellipsed because it is an equative verb, and Greek often ellipses equative verbs. So no one is good. And then ame, hopefully you recognize as except, or if not, it's sort of if not, but hopefully you learn that as except. So no one is good except heis ho theos. Well, then except one, and this is nominative singular, and then ho theos is nominative singular. So you've got to know a couple of these things, things here. All of these are nominative, and hopefully you recognize this as haste, not ace. So you're going to recognize this is coming from haste me a hen, which is one. So, nominative singular, of course, because it means one. And then you've got it followed by ho theos, which is in the same case number gender. What that should tell you is that God is actually in apposition to haste, or one. And to best translate that into English, to help yourself, what you do is you just put a comma in there and recognize that ho theos points back to, in the appositional chain, theos further describes the one that we're talking about. Okay? So, no one is good except one, comma, God. And hopefully that works for everyone. So let me just run back over it real quick. But Jesus said to him, why do you call me good? No one is good except one, comma, God.